Americans have lost their confidence in President Biden and their optimism for the country.
Everything about this poll, and it's a terrible poll for the president.
There's a total of
the number of container ships waiting offshore has not gone down, it's gone up.
No dignity left intact.
LGB. Joe Biden's polls have gotten even lower than expected, and Democrats are alarmed. We'll get right into that. The supply chain is out of whack. Colin Kaepernick is back in the news, and some hilarity around the Let's Go Brandon chant. All that and more coming up. My name is Joe Bob. This is Daily Caller Live, and it starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
that might be the only brown guy on earth named Joe Bob.
That is actually their name, Joe Bob.
Live from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Joe Bob. This is Daily Caller Live. Today is November 1st. Hope you had a great, safe Halloween weekend. We want to get right into the dismal Joe Biden polling that came out over the weekend. Again, from NBC News, not a right-wing organization by any stretch of the imagination. Then we're going to talk about Colin Kaepernick, who made some waves with a Netflix movie. Will Netflix cancel Colin Kaepernick for his ridiculous statements? Probably not. The supply chain is out of whack, and a lot more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. So to get right into things, Joe Biden's polling is absolutely dismal. I want to start the show off by playing, again, the whole idea of this show is to be fair in what we're doing. So for that, I go to a lot of lefty news outlets. This one in particular, NBC News, Chuck Todd from Meet the Press, talking about the polling from Joe Biden. Because if the left is saying it, that would make it pretty valid if it's criticizing the president that they all love. If you haven't already, if you're watching this, click the share button. It's right down here. People need to see this because Democrats themselves are turning on the president in record numbers. Going to play this clip from Chuck Todd over the weekend from Meet the Press, and then we'll discuss. Watch this.
We have a brand new NBC News poll out this morning that's filled with some scary news for the Democrats. The overarching message: Americans have lost their confidence in President Biden and their optimism for the country. At least they have right now. Just 22% of adults say we're headed in the right direction. A shocking 71% say we're on the wrong track. And that includes a near majority of Democrats who are saying that. President Biden's approval rating stands at a dismal 42% versus 54% who disapprove. Believe it or not, just 2 months ago, Mr. Biden was in positive territory. 49% approving, 48% disapproving. So what's pulling down the president's numbers? Well, look at this set of numbers. Just 37% say he has the ability right now to handle a crisis versus nearly a majority who say he does not. 37% also say he's competent and effective as president. 50% disagree with that description. What's more, Republicans, believe it or not, have double-digit leads in dealing with border security, inflation, crime, national security, the economy, and shockingly, on getting things done.
So that is Chuck Todd from Meet the Press. I want to bring up that bulletin really quick so we can kind of see that while we're talking about it. But Chuck Todd on Meet the Press, not a right-leaning organization. I don't know if you know that about NBC, but they don't tend to lean to the right, saying that Democrats are joining with Republicans in their disapproval for the president. Some of those numbers, as we saw, 71% of Americans total, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green, Tea Party, whatever you want to call them, just Americans in general, 71% of people, 7 of 10, are in agreement that the country is on the wrong track with President Biden. Again, this is not a right-wing polling organization. 7 out of 10. You can't get 7 out of 10 people to agree on what kind of pizza you're all going to get. Some people are going to want pineapple, and those people are wrong, just for the record. But you can't get 7 to 10 people to agree on anything. Yet, 71% of Americans agree that Joe Biden is putting America on the wrong track. His approval rating is obviously down to the lowest it's ever been. Right about where Trump sat. Trump sat in the mid-40s. Joe Biden is in, 42, I think. The ability to handle a crisis, 37%. That's the only thing the presidency is, handling crisis, or at least what it should be. When the founders set up the country, the federal government wasn't supposed to run everybody's lives. They were only supposed to control the military and build interstate infrastructure and handle crises. That's the only thing the president is supposed to do. Yet 37% of Americans, not even 40%, think that Joe Biden can't handle a crisis if it were to come. Also, looking at some of these polling numbers right here along border security, Republicans have double-digit leads when it comes to how are they able to handle border security, plus 27%, inflation, plus 24%, crime, plus 22%, national security, plus 21%, economy, plus 18%, and just getting things done, plus 13%. That is not good news, especially if you're like a Terry McAuliffe or somebody who's running right now. We're about actually exactly a year away from the midterms, and Democrat polling could not get worse. Let me see if we can get in some of these comments before we go on to some of the polling or the reasoning. Susie says he is the crisis. Yeah, couldn't disagree. Lots of profanity in here, so we're not going to be able to bring it. Go Brandon. Still lots of support for Brandon. We stick around for the end of the show. We've got a funny "Let's Go Brandon" clip that we want to play. Again, let's go Brandon. Listen to Chuck Todd. I wanted to play what Chuck Todd said about this poll when he was trying to explain why it is that it is. Listen to this. This is, again, interesting, coming from Democrats themselves.
It's the economy that's driving it more than anything else. And I think that is, if you looked at everything about this poll, and it's a terrible poll for the president. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's not a good poll for the president, not a good poll for the Democratic Party. The only good news for Democrats in there is the date it was conducted, and that it's 1 year from the midterms. It isn't now. It's not a great feeling if you're Terry McAuliffe or Phil Murphy, the two Democrats running in Virginia and New Jersey in this current climate. But the big wet blanket on the country is this feeling that the economy is just struggling to get going. Prices are too high as far as people are concerned. They're feeling the cost of living increase, feeling the gas price increase, and they're not seeing a lot from Washington, right? You throw that in there. What are they seeing? They're seeing a lot of infighting. And by the way, Willie, that infighting's taken a toll. When you have a wrong direction that's 71%, that's not just Republicans. A majority of Democrats think we're headed in the wrong direction. And so this is, and you look at the president's own approval numbers, and you see that it's softer among progressive Democrats than it is among mainstream rank and file Democrats. So you see where the tension points are with the president right now, and it's not a great place.
Again, biggest problem for Democrats, again, this is clearly indicative of people waking up and seeing what's going on. But even Democrats now, a majority of Democrats think Joe Biden has gotten America off the right track. That never happened with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's Republican approval rating was always pretty high. Democrats, the approval rating and the ability to conduct polls that are favorable to the sitting president always sway either side, right? You got Republican presidents do really well with Republicans and really poorly with Democrats. Independents are the best indicators of how the president is actually doing. But in this case, not only are Republicans against the president, or at least saying the president has got the country on the wrong track, Democrats, a majority of Democrats say that Joe Biden is doing a terrible job. Again, his approval rating dipping to the lowest it's ever been, with the university system, with the entertainment system, with the media system, all on his side. He's still managing to get terrible approval ratings and unbelievably high disapproval ratings. He was asked about this in Rome. He's abroad. Remember on Friday, he put this, it was Thursday. He said, we've got this deal together. He spent all morning on Capitol Hill, then gave an address to the people, didn't take questions, and then left the country. Couldn't get that deal done. The Democrats failing to pass the infrastructure, human social spending bonanza did not pass last week. Then Joe Biden left the country. He was in Rome, and get this, did his first press conference in 4 months. Joe Biden sometimes gives addresses, and sometimes he takes one or two, maybe 3 or 4 questions. Hasn't actually done a press conference in 4 months. That report was coming from an ABC White House correspondent, I believe, on Stephanopoulos this week. And again, saying that 4 months it's been since Joe Biden has done a press conference. But he finally did one in Rome, I believe, where he was asked about his polling numbers. Now, there's a little bit of a long clip, but I want to play it all for you because Joe Biden is defending, or at least downplaying, his poll numbers when he was asked about it. Watch this from the president abroad.
We're 1 year now since your election. And you have done a lot in your year in office to try to turn the page on the last administration. But we've seen how presidents can turn the page very quickly from one to the other. So why should the world, believe that when you say America's back, that really it's here to stay?
Because the way they reacted, you were here. They listened. Everyone sought me out. They wanted to know what our views were. And we helped lead what happened here. It's just very simple. If you're honest, no, you are honest. That doesn't mean to imply you weren't. But that we got significant support here. Significant support. The United States of America is the most critical part of this entire agenda. And we did it. And by the way, look, the polls are going to go up and down and up and down. They were high early, then they got medium, then went back up, and now they're low. Well, look, this is look at every other president. The same thing has happened. But that's not why I ran. I didn't run to determine how well I'm going to do in the polls. I ran to make sure that I followed through on what I said I would do as president of the United States. And I said that I would make sure that we were in a position where we dealt with climate change, where we moved in a direction that was significantly improved the prospects of American workers being to have good jobs and good pay. And further, that I would make sure that we dealt with the crisis that was caused by COVID. We've done all of those. We continue to do them, and we'll see what happens. But I'm not running because of the polls.
So there's a couple things that Joe Biden said in there. Again, he gave his first press conference in 4 months, according to the ABC White House correspondent. 4 months. Finally was asked about the polls. Hey, you're doing terribly in the polls. Joe Biden is currently in Europe at the G20, I think, or at some climate change thing that isn't going to accomplish anything, and they're just going to grandstand and talk about how important it is. Anyways, Joe Biden's abroad, finally did a press conference where he was asked, hey, are you worried about your polling numbers? Joe Biden said a couple things that are pretty interesting. He said there's been a lot of support while he's abroad from the other countries. The other countries around the world think he's doing a great job. Well, guess what, Joe Biden? You don't represent those other countries. You're representing the American people. So who cares if the rest of the world thinks you're doing such a swell job? Honestly, if Vladimir Putin was driving Russia into the ground or Xi Jinping was driving China into the ground, I would say, yeah, they're doing a great job. So the rest of the world saying that, President, we're in support of you doesn't mean anything. We did a story last week where we were talking about the polling around the world shows that Joe Biden is doing a great job. Who cares what the rest of the world think? This was one of the big things that Donald Trump was running on, is that we need to be America first and America centric. If the rest of the world is irritated us, probably because we're not giving them nearly as much as we used to in the past under the Obama administration, Clinton, even Bush, was giving the rest of the world a huge pass in paying for things and supporting military activity. Yet, Joe Biden is saying, well, look, we are doing great here in Europe. Everybody in Europe likes us. Yeah, because you're giving them a bunch of freebies at the expense of the American people and the American taxpayer. Another thing that he said that was super interesting is, the reason why I ran was climate change and being a progressive president. No, it wasn't. If you remember the campaign at all, the whole entire Biden campaign was him not being Trump and him being a moderate, more down the middle, left of center guy. Here's the problem. The second he got into office, he freaking turns into Bernie Sanders and goes full-blown lefty wing. Wants to pass this $3 trillion human infrastructure. Remember, human infrastructure is not a real term. It's a term made up by Democrats strictly to promote more socialist ideas. He, for some reason, when he got into office, turned into Bernie Sanders and tried to go completely down the more socialized America route. So when he says, well, this is what I ran on was this, and this is what we're doing. No, it wasn't, dude. You ran on being a left of center, moderate Democrat who was trying to bring bipartisanship to Washington, D.C. None of that has happened, and Joe Biden is pushing the most progressive causes that you could possibly imagine, which, again, not what he ran on. Again, that's the president giving his first press conference in 4 months in Europe, of all places. So there was a lot of the press pool that just wasn't there because they didn't make the trip. I want to transition into a thing that I think is actually making Joe Biden in his rebuttal talked about the supply chain, and we're getting that back on track. Here's the thing. No, they're not. I want to talk about the Biden boat parade. This was interesting. So I learned recently, I guess, that a lot of people don't like Chris Wallace, and that's fine. I guess people basing their opinions off of the pretty bad job Chris Wallace did at moderating the debate. If you don't like Chris Wallace, that's totally fine. I happen to think he's a pretty fair journalist, and in this instance, he hits the Biden administration pretty hard. He asked Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, a question, and he outlines a bunch of different things that the Biden administration is getting wrong or is not doing well. Listen to this from Fox News over the weekend.
Talk about the backups in the supply chain. Since the president announced 2 weeks ago that the Port of Los Angeles was going to 24/7 operations, the number of container ships waiting offshore has not gone down. It's gone up from 56 to 77. One day last week, a terminal pier in Long Beach announced 2,000 appointments for truckers went unused. Goldman Sachs says that port congestion is not going to ease until the second half of next year.
So Chris Wallace on Fox, again, some of you like Chris Wallace, some of you don't, but he is even saying that since Biden announced that the ports were going to be operating at 24 hours, we're going to get this bottleneck cleared up. Since Joe Biden came out and made that big announcement, the problem hasn't gotten any better. Actually, it's gotten worse. And I wanted to read this piece from the USA Today because I think it is interesting, again, how the media and how the left tries to curb stories. This article from USA Today was entitled "Fact Check: Around 170 Ships Waiting to Dock in Long Beach." What this was a fact check of an online story spreading around Facebook saying that 170 ships were now parked outside of the Port of Los Angeles and Port of Long Beach. If you haven't seen the photos already, Biden finally got his boat parade. There's dozens of ships out in the harbor, in the Long Beach harbor and the Los Angeles port, sitting out there going for miles and miles and miles. I've seen this line of ship with my own eyes. It absolutely exists. But the USA says, fact check, over 170 ships waiting to dock in Long Beach ports. Basically, this article says that's not true. And then they go on to say something ridiculous like this. The number is off on several fronts. The day this Facebook post was made, only 108 container ships were waiting to dock in the Los Angeles and Long Beach ports. This is what the lefty media does. This is what USA Today does. You're super progressive and you're super woke media. They see something that is outlandish. That somebody said 170 ships were waiting off of the coast. They say, no, not 170 ships. There's only 108. As if that is any better. It's not. People continue to make the claim that no, there's nowhere near as many as the Republicans are saying. Well, okay, that may be true. Maybe there's some exaggeration in the reporting that's going on around these ships off the dock, but 103 isn't good either. When Joe Biden was making that announcement, I was reading that there was 53 cargo ships off the coast of Southern California waiting to dock at the Port of Long Beach or the Port of Los Angeles. Now, the USA Today is saying, oh, it's not 170. No, that's way too high. It's 103. That's better. We did a whole thing last week. Guy at Twitter thread, I believe his name was Russell something, journalist actually took a boat and said, here's how you fix all of these things. You do this, and this. But the Biden administration isn't doing any of that. California's Gavin Newsom isn't doing any of that. And they're saying that this is strictly a leadership problem. But yet the media continues to spin this sort of stuff saying, no, it's not that high. It's only this high, which is still ridiculously high. But we're not going to put any of that into our article. Absolutely ridiculous. I want to get into this before we go too long on the Biden boat parade. Have you seen the Colin Kaepernick Netflix movie series? I don't even really know what it is. I think it's a movie, but somebody called it a series. Maybe it's a couple episodes, but limited nonetheless. Colin Kaepernick, the guy who kneeled during the national anthem, the guy who's not very good. Well, he's pretty good at football. I wouldn't say one of the best, as a lot of people claim that he is. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. He's not playing because of racism. I don't know about that. I think he's not playing because he's a huge hassle to any team that wants him. And he himself has proved that he doesn't want to play by how he's handled some of the scrutiny coming his way. But he put out a Netflix movie because apparently now he's a millionaire with being an activist. When you become an activist, if you're on the left, you tend to get rich. But Colin Kaepernick put out a documentary, and there's a clip from this documentary that's making the rounds that I wanted to play for you here. This is absurd. The audio on here is a little bit iffy, kind of like some trebly. Just watch it. I think there's subtitles so you can read it. But check this out, and then we'll discuss because it is insane.
What they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic. Before they put you on the field, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary respected. No dignity left intact. Come on, boy, hurry up. Look at that shape there. Look at this. Mr. Favre, I got your bid. 30, James, 30 to you. 100. So, next one coming up, best one we got. 500. 600. Right here. Look at this here. Come on, who wants this? 700. There we go now. Look now. Look down. I'm telling you what I want. So,
if you're just listening to that, I'm sorry. I'll try to explain. I should have been explaining what's going on because a lot of it was music, and I know that some people listen to this on the podcast. But if you're watching this, what you just saw was Colin Kaepernick try to compare the NFL to slavery. The NFL, where you have millions and millions of dollars being thrown around to players, and slavery, where no money was being thrown out. We can all agree that slavery was a bad thing. There we go. We said it. We're out and proud about it. Slavery is bad. Is it equivalent to the NFL, Colin Kaepernick? No, it is not by any stretch of the imagination. First things first, aside from the fact that NFL players make millions of dollars over the course of their career and endorsement deals and a lifetime pension that you can receive from the NFL Players Association, aside from all of that, you don't have to play. Holy cow, here's the thing. You don't have to play in the NFL. I don't know if Colin Kaepernick knows this about slavery, but it wasn't voluntary. Maybe that's a newsflash to Colin Kaepernick. But again, what a ridiculous thing to compare to slavery. Again, slavery, awful. Jim Crow in the South, awful. Terrible things, awful things. Comparing it to playing in the NFL, absolutely ridiculous. This is from The Sun saying, in the clip, Colin Kaepernick, who earned more than $40 million playing in the NFL during his time in the NFL, says players are left with no dignity intact by coaches and scouts. What they don't tell you, what they don't want you to understand is what's being established is a power dynamic. Okay, such as everything in life. I don't know if you know this, but if you have a job in which you work for a person, there is a power dynamic. The person who is the boss and writing your paychecks has power over you in the work environment. And lo and behold, the same thing happens in the NFL. You've got people who are bosses and people who pay employees to do a job. And if you don't want to work there, you don't have to work there. He says nothing is left to chance in the NFL. They examine every part of you to try and find a flaw. Yeah, dude, that's what a job interview is. And in the NFL, it's all based on physicality, some mental smarts, but a lot of it is primarily physicality. So they're going to test you for your physical abilities. I don't understand why this is so foreign to him. Maybe he's never had a real job. Well, he hasn't had a real job. He's been an NFL player, and now he's an activist, getting rich off of being an activist. Okay, lots of, what's her name? Patrice Concolors, the founder of Black Lives Matter, who bought 5 houses last year because she's such an activist, doing right by the people and buying houses in rich neighborhoods. Apparently, all of these activists are getting rich nowadays. Colin Kaepernick says, before they put you on the fields, teams poke, prod, and examine you, searching for any defect that might affect your performance. No boundary of respect, no dignity left intact. Okay, well, you don't need to play in the NFL. But a lot of people want to because of the massive paychecks that they receive for being an employee of one of the biggest and most famous organizations on the face of the earth. Unlike slavery, where, again, I don't know if Colin Kaepernick knows this, it wasn't voluntary. People did not have a choice. Absolutely ridiculous coming from Colin Kaepernick. I want to touch on this really quick before we go back into Joe Biden's plummeting poll numbers. Did you see this over the weekend? This was pretty interesting. If you don't know, Terry McAuliffe, Democrat running in Virginia for governor, running against a guy named Greg Youngkin, Republican running also in Virginia. The Lincoln Project, who is a bastion of stupidity, tried to pull a ridiculous racist stunt at one of Greg Youngkin, the Republican candidate's events. They had a bunch of people show up, 5 of them, show up with tiki torches to protest the complete racism by Greg Youngkin. Oh my gosh. This is from The Hill. The Lincoln Project said it sent people with tiki torches to a campaign event held by Virginia GOP gubernatorial candidate Glenn Youngkin. Sorry, I've been saying Greg. On Friday. This is because I do not care. I don't live in Virginia. I don't think it is a bellwether of what's going to happen for the rest of the country. I think it's an election that Virginians are going to try and decide for themselves. They sent protesters to a Glenn Youngkin campaign event on Friday, sparking backlash against the activist group. The anti-Trump group, remember, Lincoln Project supposedly is former Republicans, but I don't even know how much you can count them as that, put out ridiculous ads in the Trump election 2020, Trump versus Biden. But the anti-Trump group issued a statement saying it pulled a stunt in Charlottesville because Youngkin had not condemned the 2017 Unite the Right white nationalist rally. White nationalist is an interesting term. I'm not going to get into that right now, but it is. Maybe someday. Today's demonstration was our way of reminding Virginians that what happened in Charlottesville 4 years ago, the Republican Party embraces those values. Again, the Lincoln Project, formerly Republicans, they know what they're talking about. They know that that's not the case. Absolutely ridiculous coming from them. If he will denounce Trump's assertion that Charlottesville rioters possessed very fine qualities, we'll withdraw the tiki torches, the group continued. Until then, we'll have to be back. A lot of things going on here. First of all, their entire basis, apparently, for sending tiki torch protesters, including a black guy. If you look at this picture, let me see if I can make this larger. Look at this picture. Guy on the very, what is that on your screen? On the very left is a black guy. The black guy is posing as a white supremacist? I don't know. I got called a white supremacist. A guy named, maybe, no, I'm not going to make that joke. I'm a brown guy. Dad's an immigrant from another land, and I got called a white supremacist. So apparently anybody could be a white supremacist, including this black guy with a tiki torch. But their entire tiki torch protest thing is based off of a false premise that This whole media narrative side, the left has it constantly, universities, entertainment, wants to say that Donald Trump said there are very good people on both sides, saying that the white supremacists that were marching there, again, nobody here likes white supremacy. The fact that you even have to say that is absolutely ridiculous. But I'm just going to go out and put that on the record. I am anti-white supremacy, for those of you who had a question about it. But the left has been running with this false narrative that Donald Trump has been endorsing white supremacy with this comment. I brought up the full transcript of that exchange with the reporter that they are taking completely out of context. I'm going to try and read some of it and see if it makes sense. Again, it's difficult because it's this is why they've been able to take it out of context, because there's questioning going back at the reporter. This is the transcript from that exchange. Donald Trump said, "I'm not putting anyone on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other side, and both of them came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious and it was horrible to watch." Again, this is the president talking about this incident that happened in Charlottesville 4 years ago. He said it was horrible and it was horrible to watch. Everybody involved showed up with the sole purpose of fighting each other. And the president rightly said that's bad. I don't know how you can disagree with that. If people show up in the streets to fight each other with weapons, that is not a good thing. Then a reporter asked him, "Both sides, sir, you said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides." And then he said, Donald Trump said, "Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. If you look at both sides, I think there's blame on both sides. I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either." And then you reported inaccurately, you would say. Then the president said, when he was being badgered by it, saying that someone was asking about the neo-Nazis, the Charlottesville protests, all that sort of stuff, President Trump said, excuse me, they didn't put themselves. You have bad people in that group, but you also have good people or very fine people on both sides. They took that, you have very fine people on both sides, after the entirety of the statement saying that everybody here was wrong in some way, shape, or form. The president then says, yeah, look, both sides are wrong, and I'm sure there's fine people on both sides. That clip was taken so out of context, and that is the very premise that the Lincoln Project used to send fake white supremacists, including a black guy, to protest the Glenn Youngkin rally. Absolutely ridiculous. Any thoughts on that? Hit me in the comment section. Let me know what the media didn't notice the black guy, said Deborah Walker. Thanks for that comment, Deborah. Jack is saying what we're all thinking, just the eye roll emojis. Yeah, this is some fun comments coming in on this. I want to go back to this. I want to go back to the Joe Biden polling plummets. I know a lot of people jump on and off of these, and I want to play just this one clip from Chuck Todd over the weekend. Chuck Todd, the host of Meet the Press, not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination. Listen to this polling from Chuck Todd and from NBC Polling, not a conservative polling organization. Watch this.
We have a brand new NBC News poll out this morning that's filled with some scary news for the Democrats. The overarching message: Americans have lost their confidence in President Biden and their optimism for the country. At least they have right now. Just 22% of adults say we're headed in the right direction. A shocking 71% say we're on the wrong track. And that includes a near majority of Democrats who are saying that. President Biden's approval rating stands at a dismal 42% versus 54% who disapprove. Believe it or not, just 2 months ago, Mr. Biden was in positive territory, 49% approving, 48% disapproving. So what's pulling down the president's numbers? Well, look at this set of numbers. Just 37% say he has the ability right now to handle a crisis versus nearly a majority who say he does not. 37% also say he's competent and effective as president. 50% disagree with that description. What's more, Republicans, believe it or not, have double-digit leads in dealing with border security, inflation, crime, national security, the economy, and shockingly, on getting things done.
That was Chuck Todd on Meet the Press over the weekend. That kind of spoke for itself. There are some interesting comments that I did want to get to regarding the last thing. Dang it, I can't seem to find it right now. Oh, here we go. This was interesting. I want to go back to this Lincoln Project thing. If you watched the Biden polling plummets, Basically, the gist of that is his polling is in the toilet, even amongst Democrats. Chuck Todd is saying Biden's polling is in the toilet amongst Democrats. But I want to go back to this Lincoln Project nonsense. This guy commented this. Mike said, "I'm glad you stated you're against white supremacy." Yes, I, the brown guy, am against white supremacy. That's a good start. Oh, it's a good start, Mike? Thanks. But I'd suggest you're in the minority when you're talking about T.G. Torchman in Charlottesville. Here's a counterpoint. No, I'm not. Everybody is in agreement that the white supremacists marching with tiki torches are bad. White supremacy is bad. I can't believe I have to say this, but the people marching with the tiki torches are bad. What I was saying and what I think you're referring to is that the people who showed up with bats intending to fight those people are also bad. How about nobody fights anybody with weapons in the streets? That is not how we handle our problems here in the United States of America. Don't go get a weapon and fight other people in the middle of the street. If that's what you're referring to on I'm in the minority of the Charlottesville event that happened with the tiki torches and the white supremacists, then no, I'm not. I think the majority of Americans agree that you shouldn't fight people in the streets. Absolutely ridiculous. There was a couple more comments that were coming in from here that I thought were interesting. Let me see if I can find them. This is also interesting. Again, this is not in defense of anything. This is just an interesting point that people tend to miss. I'm not defending any group here. Just to clear that up, because apparently people who watch this don't understand that you can bring a comment up and not fully wholeheartedly. I've done enough disclaiming here. Right? This is not a support of this particular group. Just saying this is kind of interesting. Proud Boys leader is a brown guy. White supremacy is confused lately. Yeah, I think his name is Enrique Terrio, something like that. Again, not defending the Proud Boys. All I'm saying is that calling them a white supremacist group is odd. Not entirely sure what that means or how that, but then again, I've been called a white supremacist. I've been called, wow, somebody sent me a message the other day. You are the mouthpiece for white supremacy. Okay. I'm sorry you feel that way, and I thank you for watching the show, by the way. I want to get into this. This is what I thought. I thought this was hilarious. If you watched this over the weekend, who's this guy? You're clearly defending white supremacists. We see you. Okay, I guess if you want to come to that conclusion, that's fine, Luis. Maybe you don't need to watch. How about you go watch something else that makes more sense in your head? That's totally fine. I want to get into. I'm going to stop reading those because I could go off on these people again. Ridiculous. This was a hilarious clip floating around the internet. I want to end this. I want to play it out on this. This is do you remember the band AC/DC? They had a song called TNT. Somebody did a hilarious remix of that to the Let's Go Brandon chant. It's sweeping the nation. Lots of Let's Go Brandon in the comments. Listen to this, and then we'll wrap it up. Just want to end it on a brighter note. Biden's poll numbers are 71% of Americans think the country is off track. It's not the best day in America. Let's end this on a brighter note. Listen to this. This is hilarious.
LGB. 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 They say LGB everywhere I go. LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB. Whatever it is. LGB. Kamala, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
I like you. LGB.
That's Let's Go Brandon, right?
LGB. This means let's go, Brandon. No. LGB.
Sounds like Let's Go Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. If you don't sing that back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB. Let's go, Brandon. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I
Forgot
this message.
So had some sorry about that flag there in the back. If you're offended by foul language, I apologize for that. I thought I got it all, but didn't entirely. But that was a hilarious song. Who puts these together? Who has the time to put all of that together? That's going to do it for us today. If you want, actually, I really appreciate getting followed on social media because that's the best way you can send me messages of stories happening in your neck of the woods. If there's something going on that you think the media should be talking about, that you think that I should see or should bring on the show, something local in your community, school board meetings, doing something ridiculous, send it on. The best way to do that is by following me on Instagram at JOBOB, The Joe Bob Show on Facebook, or just type JOBOB on Twitter. You'll find me. I'm the only Joe Bob, the only brown Joe Bob probably on the face of the earth, I think. But go ahead and follow me there. If you see anything that we should be talking about, send it along. Would love to hear from you guys on all of the different fronts. That's the best way to do it. Also, if you go there, you can get I'm wearing the, check it out. This is what's one of my new favorites. The Let's Go Brandon. A lot of the Let's Go Brandon t-shirts say Let's Go Brandon, but they've got a face. Where is it? These ones got to have a face, the face of Brandon on the t-shirt. So you can also get those at all of my social media platforms, at Joe Bob on Instagram, at The Joe Bob Show on Facebook. You can get the Let's Go Brandon t-shirt, the catchphrase Joe Biden, what t-shirt? You can get all of those wherever, if you follow me on social media, all of those these can be yours. They can also get them at capitalistpropaganda.us. So you can head on over there and grab all of these hilarious t-shirts. Help support what we're doing over here. Helps me keep in business. Helps me stay on the wagon every day here, talking about the news, making jokes about the news. You can buy all those t-shirts there. Would really appreciate the support. That's going to do it for us today. A lot of Let's Go Brandon, LGB, TQIA2+, I think. That's going to do it for today. We will see you tomorrow, same place, same time. Tomorrow there's a couple things that I did want to tease for tomorrow. Let me see. Oh, this was really interesting. Oh my gosh, I lost it. Maybe we'll talk about inflation tomorrow. I'm really not ending here strong. A DC judge blocked Biden's firing of unvaxxed military employees. That'll be on tomorrow. We'll talk about that. And also, an influencer is raising awareness for male menopause. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. God bless America.